everyone, so it's August. Now this is about a week late. Normally I do my mission inspiration art journal pages for the month on the first Saturday of every month when they go live, when they're launched. But this month obviously something happened at the beginning of the month which kind of threw everything out. So I'm doing it today instead. So I've been able to gather everything I think I'm going to need to do this month's mission. So this is the prompt sheet that was prepared very kindly this month by our guest mission controller, and that was Sam from Kiss My Creative. So Sam has given us the colours of greenery, desert flower and honey ginger. We have our 8 prompts and then suggested 5 words along the bottom. Now, looking at the colours, greenery, desert flower and honey ginger, I don't have those exact colours, so I've had to go through my paint stash to see what colours I have that kind of match. So I've been able to pull out Evergreen from Dina Wakley Media, and also Blushing from Dina Wakley Media, which I think is possibly a little bit darker, but you know, it needs must when devil drives. And for the honey ginger, I could have either had Rusty Hinge from the Distress range, which is pretty much, I think, very, very similar. Let me see if I can grab my Distress ink pad. Yeah, Rusty Hinge, maybe a little bit lighter. Probably, maybe brushed corduroy may have worked as well, but the one I thought was quite closest to it was this one, which is the Artiste range of acrylic paints from Docrafts, and this one's called Clay. So it's terracotta-ish. So I think they're near enough the colours to be able to play with on the project. So those are the ones that I'm going to be working on today. So I've got a sheet of craft card this time for my substrate for my art journal page to go into my mission inspiration journal for 2018. So I'll put that journal to one side because I've already got the page out, and we'll have a look at the first bit. So other bits and pieces that I've already gathered together, I've got some bits and pieces of, I've got my focal image, I've got some bits and pieces that I want to add as clusters in there. I've also got some tissue, some plain tissue paper. This is rice paper actually. So I've got a piece of rice paper and I've just cut it to 8 inches by 8 inches, which is the size of my page, that I'm going to use for the base. And I've got a stamp set. So this stamp set is the Art Studio stamp set from Indigo Blue. This is a recent release. I've used some of these already, as you can see. And I'm going to probably use some of these in the background to put on the tissue to glue down. So that is pretty much the only other things I've got. Is I've got Tree Branch archival ink there, and I've got a jet black archival ink as well. So those are pretty much all, I think, for now that I'm going to need. I will need some pens for some journaling a little while later in for one of the later prompts, but let's go ahead and just get started. So the first thing I want to do is let's put that tissue paper and the stamp set to one side, because step number 1 is to add suggested colours to the background. Okay, so I'm going to start off with some of the clay, and I'm only going to add a little bit. So I'll just squirt a few bits into the background, and I'll grab a brush. I've got some brushes in water just to my side here, so let's just add some of that lovely terracotta colour into the background. Now of course this will be lighter while it's wet, and then it will dry darker once it actually goes and soaks in a wee tad. So I'll just add a little bit more, just there. Try and keep it loose towards the edges, like that. That'll do for the terracotta. I need a baby wipe as well. Let me reach one of those down. Baby wipe is just for cleanup. I'm not going to use it actually on the page. So I was going to keep this mat pristine. Haha, he says. Okay, let's get that dry and then I will be right back. Okay, so that clay terracotta colour is now nice and dry, and I want to introduce a little bit of the green into the background as well before I go any further. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of, let's see if I've got a little paint mat somewhere. That'll do. So I'm going to put some of that evergreen just down on there, and then I've got a brush, and then I've got some bubble wrap. So I'm just going to introduce some of those green tones just over the top. Just over here. Just around the outside, kind of, because I'm going to be building a lot of stuff in the middle. I'm going to be putting some layers into the middle, so I just want some of that green to show through, where it's not going to be quite as heavy with the paper images and that kind of thing. So just a nice little nod to those colours, because if they don't appear anywhere else, at least I've got them in the art journal page, and I know that I've used all three colours then. At least, even if they're only in the background and partially hidden, I'll know that I've done that and that they're in there. I think just in the middle bit there. There we go. So I'm hoping that the light's not too harsh today. I've moved my lights a little. Let's just try and move them out a bit. There we go. That's not going to be too dark. So I've got that greenery just subtly in the background. So of course we need to get that dry before we move on any further. So I'll give that a quick blast and I'll be right back. Okay, I think so for the time being, step number 1 complete. We've added some green in and we've also added in some of that colour there, so that's ticked off the list. So step number 2 is to glue hand stamped or patterned tissue. Okay, so let's just move this to one side and let's bring that tissue paper back in. Okay, managed to get a little bit of water on it already, but never mind. And then I'm going to need a stamping block. Let's have a look. Stamping block. That's a good enough one. And let's have that image with the paint tubes and bottles on. And then grab some of that jet black archival ink. And then we'll stamp that down here at the bottom. Not particularly bothered about getting a perfect impression, so we'll get rid of that one, and then we'll have the paint brushes. Ink that up. And I'm going to have that, or those, actually let's put it with, because I'm probably going to tear these out of the tissue paper anyway, like that. So I'll take that off, and then we have some more tubes of paint and bottles. So, ink that up. And then stamp that down up there. Cool, liking that so far. And then one more which will do a long ways. Long ways. It's a nice paintbrush. I'll do that one along there. Cool. So that says the word imagine on there. I'll put that stamp set to one side, bring back the page, and then I've used archival ink because I want to use water to separate these. So I'm just going to add some water on the outside, and theoretically that should make that really easy to tear. There we go. Because you'll get a nice kind of like soft feathered edge around where the water was, because that's a nice weak point. So we can put those up there, and then the water around there. Again, tear those through. The rice paper is quite strong until you add water to it, and then that's where you get a great benefit of being able to just tear out the little sections that you want without fear of losing any of the design, providing you're quite careful. Okay, so let's take this one out. And down across the bottom. There we go. And then we'll get that brush . See how it's just tearing along where the water was. It gives you a really nice kind of feathered edge. Don't want that straight line there, so I'm just going to nip that off. That's it. And then you're probably not going to see all of this because I will layer some of those other clusters, but at least I'm sticking it down and it's in the background as per what's required, if you like. Now then, where's my matte medium? There we go. I've got some matte medium and a brush. Until I've had a week off from that journaling, and I'm a tad out of practice. So let's just put a little bit of that there. Just give it a shake. That'll do. So pick some up on the brush, and then we can add a little coat of the glue down, and then we can stick our tissue paper down onto it. And then theoretically, he says, we should hopefully, it should pretty much blend into the background. It won't go completely transparent, but that's okay. But it will pick up some of that colour that's underneath it. So I'm going to put this paintbrush one down here first. Right up against the edge. Okay, and then I can stick those other paintbrushes about there. So I'm brushing them at medium from the centre outwards to make sure I don't catch or give it any creases. But even if you do, the world won't come to an end. And then we'll put those ink and paint bottles just down there like that. Okay, drop that in some water, put my little palette thing to one side, and then let's bring up the heat gun, get it all dry, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so glue hand stamped or patterned tissue, so that's step number 2 taken care of. Number 3, add focal image or shape. Well, I've got my focal image here and I'm just putting together my cluster pieces, but what I'm going to do, I'm also going to incorporate 3, so step number 3 with step number 7, because putting step number 7 with step number 3 makes more sense for me when I'm putting my cluster together, and you'll see why. So step number 7 says add thread and or staples. That's the clue, the staples. Okay, here's my cluster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that to put the page to one side for a second, and I've got my diary glue stick, my little mini Dilutions glue stick, and I've also got a stapler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start building up my cluster piece, my main focal image. I'm just going to add some glue. So grab that and then stick that down. At the same time, I'm going to bring out that tree branch ink and I'm going to just add some grunge. Just kind of dirty it up a little bit. I should have actually done this before I glued that little piece on there, but I got a little bit carried away and ahead of myself. Just happy to be out journaling again. Okay, that'll do for that. Keep it to one side though. And then the date piece there, I'm going to staple. Let's grunge it first. I could hear you saying then, no, grunge it first. Magic two-way ether, where I can hear your screams from across the world. And I've deliberately put copper staples into the stapler. Can you see? Not silver ones, but copper ones, because copper works well with that kind of honey ginger colour that we said we wanted to incorporate. That's why I did that. And I'll also just put a couple of those staples just down there like that. I'm liking this. It's already got a kind of mini steampunk vibe to it. Alright, so the next bit, so I want to add this green piece. So just going around these three edges. Now the reason I've chosen a piece of green paper is because then that also fits in with that greenery colour. So I'm pulling out colours from my main colour scheme to add in as part of my cluster. So that can go like so. And then we've got another piece here which is an old, looks like a piece from a telegram. Add a bit of dirt and grunge. Like so, and again I'm going to lift that up a little bit and we'll staple that together. Like that. Then we have this lovely little piece here that says clock repaired. So it's a piece from an old ledger. I think actually this is the sheets from a medium mixage from Spellbinders that was sent to me in Happy Mail a while ago. And then I'm just going to daub a piece on the back. I'm not completely covering everything with glue because I like the fact that some of the corners are going to peel up. It gives you all that kind of added texture. Now then, the other piece that I've got is a stamp. It's a postage stamp. Now the reason I've pulled this out, A, because it's green, but also because you've got the word Queen as one of the suggested words. Well, I'm not going to be using the word Queen in the quote or the phrase or whatever, but I just thought it would be quite nice just to sneak in a couple or just one other reference to the words of inspiration. In this case, I've got a picture of my Queen, Queen Elizabeth, on a is it a 2p stamp? Yeah, 2p stamp. So there we go, that's going to be the cluster. Now the other thing that I've got is a dictionary page, and I've gone through my dictionary to find the word king, which is the other word. I've got a queen already, so I'm going to go for the word king. So I'm going to tear that word out from the dictionary sheet. I'll put the dictionary to one side and I'm going to keep that just there. So to finish off, step number 3 and step number 7, so add focal image or shape, and then the staples, bring the page back in, and then I'm going to flip all that over, give it a big rub with the glue stick, and then turn it all over, and I'm going to stick that down about there. So it's kind of bottom left hand corner-ish of the art journal page. And I'm not bothered that I've covered over this stamping because it's still there in the background. It was still one of the steps. It's a foundation layer. That's the whole point of doing layers and things on an art journal page, is their foundations. They're there for you to build on. It's like underwear. I class it as like underwear. You might not necessarily see it at the end because it's covered by other layers, but it's there. And you know it's there. Okay, it says, moving on quickly. So I'm just going to grunge up the edges of my definition of the word king. Like so. And then I'm going to grab that glue again. And then turn it over, and I'm going to stick that on the corner. And just because, I'll just add, oh, it just won't reach, look. Never mind, that's fine. So probably would have been better if I'd have done that before I stuck it down. But do you know what? Hey ho. No, it's not going to work. Let's just get that glue back down then. I can always put a pretend one in later. In fact, let me do it now. And you're thinking, what does he mean by put a pretend one in? Well, I can't get that to reach now. So I'll just get my pricking mat and then spikes are there, and then I can just push that over with my fingers. Or if I've got a bone folder handy, which you did have somewhere, or just something heavy. There we go. Perfect. Now we're stapled. Now we're cooking. So, use one or more of the given words. So that's step 3 done, step 4 done, and step 7. Move that to one side. Put the pricking that away now. I think I'll just put that to one side now as well. So, step number 5, add another layer of colour. Well, the only colour that I haven't used so far has been the pink, which is cool. So what I'm going to do is I've got an old banker's card, an old ATM card, and an old lid. Oh, there's 2 there. An old lid from an old paint pot or something of such nature. So let's grab some of that pink. Put some on the page, and then I can start to add a few little clusters, a little bit of mark making. See, it doesn't need to be overpowering. As long as you've got a few hints of those colours in, you're laughing. Because when somebody says, if they're looking at your page, well, where's the pink? But look, there. Subtle, subtle marks. And that's all it really needs. Doesn't need to be in your face. See, just catching a little bit on the legs. Just add a few extra touches. Like that. One more, going through those circles, and that's it, we're done there. Clean that card back off. That goes straight back in my mark making drawer. Right, because I've used paint, I'll need to dry it off. So once this is dry, I'll have a quick tidy up and then I'll be right back. Okay, so the pink's dry. Now I'm looking at it and thinking, we've got the green there, you can see the green in the background there, the green there, and just hints of the green there as well, but I want to make that a little bit stronger. So I'm going to bring back that piece of bubble wrap, grab my greenery again, put some more, grab my brush, and this time bring that colour and pattern and texture from the background and bring that back into the foreground. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just a hint. And as my dad sometimes says, just a taste. Just to give you that impression that it's there. Cool. And just a little bit on the edge. There. It's more prominent now, so it's brought that colour from the background into that foreground. And also, that also goes towards step number 5. We've added the pink, we've added another layer of green. So that's step number 5 done and dusted. So let's just drop that back in some water. Move that out of the way. And of course we need to get this dried off before we can do anything else, because we're going to end up smudging. So as soon as this is done and dry, I'll be right back. Okay, everything is now dry. So taking a look at the next step, step number 6, it's make marks or doodles in black or white or gold. Okay, so for me, I'm thinking that this needs some white. It needs some highlights adding to it. Now it says make marks, so you could add white by doing almost anything like we did do before with the bubble wrap, with the edge of a comb, with a credit card, or with the lid of something. Personally, my favourite way to add white is through splatters. So that's what I'm going to do. It's a personal preference. And I know some people go, oh gosh, not again. But yes. You know, you could say the same thing about, oh no, he's using paint again, or oh no, he's using a mail image again. You know, but if you like it, and it works, do it again. To quote the words of the song, do it again with love. There we go. That'll do. Don't want to do any more. Quick and easy but effective. This is trying to grab a baby wipe at the same time as talk. See, men and multitasking. Never a good idea. Splattered everywhere. Never mind. Okay, so where was I? Oh yes. So the white paint, because it's been watered down, will die down. It won't be as white, but you will still have those white highlights on the art journal page, which will then help the balance, because you've got the white in the photograph of the gentleman, you've got the white in the background of the pages, so it all kind of helps it blend and unify the whole image together. So I'll get these splatters dried off and then I'll join you again once they're dry. Okay, so they're now all dry. Very nice. I like it, like it. So that's step number 6. So we've used white and we've made marks in white. So we've already done step 7 with the staples. So step number 8 is to finish with journaling and or splatters. Well, we've already done the splatters too, so we can't really do that again. So instead I'm going to finish with some journaling. So I've got a Pigma Micron pen. This is an archival ink pen, number 8 in size, so it's a fairly largest nub. And all I'm going to do is just down here is I'm going to write the words King of the Art Studio, and that's going to be it. I'm going to be done. And then over here I'm just going to sign it and date it, the 11th today I think. And then I think, just put that to one side. Step number 8 done. Have the word king in there twice, but I've also used queen, also used the colour. All 8 steps, not necessarily in the same order, but some of the suggested words and some of those colours, or 3 of the colours that have been suggested, or near as I possibly can to what's been suggested. I think that's mission accomplished, don't you? I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.